Hi, welcome to Radio Out There. Barry Eaton with you, and the kind of music to start off this week that may resemble some fear. Oh, did I do that this morning? Didn't I do that? Am I going to succeed? Am I going to fail? Fear, it's all around us, inspired by the media, by politicians, by people who want to control our lives. But everybody faces fear. In fact, Bill Bennett and Jennifer Cluff produced a film several years ago called Facing Fear. In the meantime, they have had a wonderful success with their movie, The Way, My Way. How did that happen? How did they face the fear of not financing? How do they cope? Well, we'll find out more, because it could help you to face the fear that you may be going through right now. Jennifer and Bill, hello and welcome once again to Radio Out There. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Barry. It's so lovely to be here. What a surprise.
Well,
it's fantastic.
A very last-minute chat, because as I was explaining earlier, I have a meditation every morning, and my guides and angels and whoever come in and tell me what to do, and well, not what to do, but what to focus on, how to handle the day and whatever. And I was told this morning, ring Bill Bennett and talk about fear. So, all right, okay, so here I am. And there's so much fear in the world right now. I wanted to just have a chat to you two, because, I mean, you've had to handle so much fear in your life with not only personal, but also making films. Now, that must be one of the most almost nerve-wracking things as you're producing and getting ready and whatever. So what's your first thought on that?
You're absolutely correct. Making a film is terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And particularly, if I can say for myself, because I have nowhere to hide. Every film I make is personal, and I'm putting myself out there. And there have been times when I've been absolutely excoriated. Huge headlines, I remember, across 2 pages of a paper saying Bill's lost at sea. When you write, produce, and direct, there's no place to hide. So I'm putting myself out there every single movie.
Yeah.
So that's really scary.
Oh, it would, and that's as a filmmaker and director. Now, Jennifer, you are the producer, and you also pop into a few films here and there. As a producer, you're not facing out there, same as Bill, but you're behind there. And how much fear is there in the area of production? Are we going to get the money? How do we do this? What about that cast? What about this? What about... what's next?
Well, I've learned a long time ago, Barry, not to be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. The worst thing you can do is panic or get worried or even worried. Stress is the most exhausting thing you can go through. And when you're producing film, trying to get a moment to yourself is almost impossible, especially when we work together. So that's very hard. So even in the downtime we have together, it's still about the film. And I remember on the Nugget, I took a day off and I went out for a drive around Mudgee. I thought, I'm just going to take a day off. It's going to be wonderful. And I had this lovely day. And then as I came back into cell range, because in those days the cell range wasn't as good as it is now, my phone started pinging and I had all these urgent messages. And I came back to find that our lead actress, Belinda Emmett, had a relapse with her cancer. And if I hadn't have taken that time out, I wouldn't have been able to cope with what was to come next, which was getting Belinda to Sydney, getting her into her specialists and trying to work out how we totally restructure the film, or do we say recast and let her go and heal? But she chose to come back and finish the film. And also during that film, we had 9/11 as well, where we had to stop and allow people to grieve and come to terms with what had just happened in the world. Things happen, and you can't afford to get over stress, because then you can't deal with them correctly. I think being able to take time out for yourself and look after yourself personally is the most important thing when you're facing any sort of big moment, like making a film. I don't know how Bill does it.
Yeah.
I just don't know how, because he just goes full bore nonstop.
The thing about it is this, and that is that fear transmits and transmutes. It's incredibly contagious. So if you at the top, say as a director of a movie, and you've got maybe 100 people, 120 people under you, if you show fear, then that fear is going to ripple and build into an absolute tsunami. And so you can't afford to show fear.
No.
That's true.
But the other thing too, Barry, is this, and that is that we've got a son who's just got a new puppy, and in the background he's
Yeah, I saw a picture of it the other day.
yeah, I don't know whether you picked up on that on the microphone. He's saying, "Good girl, good girl, good girl."
No, I didn't hear that one.
Okay. The other thing about fear is that I've now lost fear pretty much in my life. I mean, I still have survival fear. So if somebody comes at me with a knife or something, then I'm going to express fear.
Oh, well, that's fight or flight, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. But the other types of fear I learned during the making of Facing Fear, I discovered that they were what's called false fears.
Mm-hmm.
And what I discovered when I really dug down was this, that fear is a function of loss and a construct of time. When I really dug deep, I came to the realization that all fear is based in loss. And if you can come to terms with that loss, whatever it might be, then you can come to terms with fear. And fear being a function of time, a construct of time, fear exists behind you in terms of memory, and as Jennifer said before, anxiety, but it also exists in the future in terms of anticipation. And if you can find a place where you quarantine yourself from the past and from the future, then you can live without fear. Because there's no fear right now.
But you're not making a film right this moment, are you? You're not in the middle of shooting anyway.
Oh no, we're terrified. I mean, are we going to get the money?
I'm not.
Right.
It's already
That's my
financed.
point. That's my point. It doesn't go away, does it?
No, it doesn't go away. I mean, even in the so-called downtime, I mean, we have still to raise the rest of the money. And there are so many variables, at risk going into a film. Do we have the right cast? Are we able to get the location that we need? All these sort of things. But in part, it comes down to experience as well. I mean, we have the surety of knowledge that we have the experience to be nimble enough to be able to cope with just about anything.
Yeah. Well,
I think it comes down to something else that's really basic, Barry, and I think you have a reason to get up every morning. Bill and I have a reason to get up every morning. I think people who don't have a really strong purpose, really strong, what they're doing every day what they're doing is really important. It doesn't have to be something big. It just has to be something small. One of my really important things every day is I go and see my mum in the nursing home. It's just something really little that drives you. You are less likely to be in fear because you have a reason every day to be doing what you're doing, a strong reason.
Yeah.
Not just going out and hanging out with friends or something, but a really strong looking after your garden, big one for me. Looking after my family, huge one for me. Making films, less important. It's not the most important thing.
No.
Family is the most important thing for me.
It is for me. I couldn't give a damn about my family.
You're in trouble now.
He doesn't have a father archetype, though.
Bill, you mentioned
us.
that film Facing Fear earlier on. Now, October 2022, and we were all at the opening night, which you asked me to MC, and we talked about the whole area of fear, because it was a fantastic film, Facing Fear. And as I said at the time on stage, for me, the acronym of FEAR is False Evidence Appearing Real. And you chimed in with something like F everything and run. We won't go into the full one on that one. But both of them said the same thing. Fear is not realistic. Unless you're standing in the mouth of a tiger or something, or on the edge of a cliff about to fall off, why allow yourself to give in to fear?
Yeah. And we all do it. It's so easy. In fact, most of us live in fear constantly, and we just don't realize it. And it's one of the reasons why we die so young, because fear stimulates chemicals that shouldn't really be in the body as they are. Fear is a warning system, basically. That's its function, is to warn us of danger, of injury, and so forth. But we have elevated fear to something else. We have elevated fear to be a part of our everyday life. And if you check through on any given day the things that you're afraid of, am I going to be late? Is this car safe enough? Are petrol prices going to rise, and if so, can I afford them? We live with a multitude of fears every single day, and of course the media doesn't help, because the nature of clickbait is such, that it's based on fear. Most news stories are based on fear, and the sad thing is that that's popular. That's what rates. We want to know what we've got to be afraid of. I mean, I can't watch most television news now because it's just so obvious to me, that it's been structured to stimulate the greatest fear in the audience.
But the thing is that it's not only, I agree totally. I mean, you and I both worked at the ABC. We both had media training experience, and I would not want to work in the media right now because it's a very different place. So much manipulation going on. But behind that, there is still the control factor out there from big companies, from governments, from all sorts of areas in society, putting that pressure on us. Control equals fear. So how do we overcome that? Now, you're part of that whole corporate area because as an independent filmmaker, both of you, then you have to face that whole community aspect of the fear that, we can't invest in your film because, it may not produce as much profit as we actually want. So that fear goes right through the community, but it's sometimes not our fault. We are being manipulated. What do you think?
Yes, but we don't have to be. People have to just wake up to the fact that they're being manipulated. The minute they realize that, then they can take another path. It's not necessary to be manipulated. We should generally question things more because our emotions get triggered very, very fast, and how our emotional body, how we are feeling inside, is going to be what's going to drive tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And if we are in any anxiety, any fear, we go into stress. The minute we go into stress, as Bill said, all the hormones start racing around. How much do we value our personal health ahead of what the media and the big corporations want from us? They want to control us, but one of the biggest ways that you can control any situation, and the most courageous thing you can choose to do, in my opinion, is be happy. Now, that's not an easy thing to be. We know that's what we are eternally struggling for, happiness. But really, just sitting with yourself and deciding everything is okay and everything is okay. That is, for me, the starting point. Everything right now is okay. We are very lucky in Australia. We're far from awful things that are happening in the world. There are some people right now where everything isn't okay. And I really firmly believe the best thing we can do is to see this world at peace, to actually in our imagination see peace come. Now, a lot of people poo-poo me for saying that, but
Why?
I firmly believe all thought is energy, and all energy will create what it is we're thinking. We just have to look at the Hollywood movies that have all come to pass. If we use our imagination positively to see everything and everyone perfect, and starting with our own little tribe, and not being afraid for our children, that's silly. You're putting fear into their energy field. Don't do that. I had to learn that the hard way as a mother. I'm still learning it. You have to see everything as perfect and relaxed. That's why I say, our next film, it's already financed. Bill might say otherwise, but that's the way I go. And I know it's rose-colored glasses, and it's very hard for people to have those glasses on at the moment, but I think everybody should give it a really good go. I really do not believe in this word toxic positivity. I think that is another attempt to control us.
Very much. I've always maintained for a long time now, long before what we're talking about here, that I was given the words, what you focus on expands. Everything starts with a thought. So if you focus on the negative, you'll get more and more black energy. If you focus on the positive, and focus what you want and not what you don't want, then that, to me, has always been the basis. And I wonder how many people now are being controlled because of that, and they don't have that positive attitude of what I want. I'm doing what I'm told. And we see that in several countries around the world now. You can't do that, but we won't let you. So, but as a filmmaker, you have that situation all the time, don't you? If you thought, oh, hang on, what happens if we don't get this money? Will the whole film fall over? You can't focus like that, can you, Bill?
Barry, this will be, I think, our 18th movie, feature film. And the thing that I've learned over 40 years now of making feature films is that the film will tell you when it's right to be made, when all the elements are right, and it will struggle when things aren't right. And so what I've now learned to do is to trust. I have to trust that the embryonic energy of the film is working in the right direction. There is such a thing as divine timing, and all the elements are going to come to place together in place in the right order and in a manner in which will make for the best film. And I firmly believe that. I used to go into panic. Jennifer and I had a saying, and we still do have a...
Still a very important saying in our life.
We both can't panic at the same time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And
when we do panic at the same time...
I'm sorry?
When we do panic at the same time, which we haven't done for many, many years, it is a disaster. And we've suffered the disaster.
But we don't really panic now anyway, do we?
No, but yes, but that's sometimes. Sometimes we're not, we're just human like everybody else, dealing with our emotions that go up and down.
Yeah.
but we're lucky because Bill chose to do a documentary on fear. He chose to find out what it was about. So we have a strong inner ability to face fear and look at it and ask it what it's trying to tell us, because normally it is a warning system. Is it a real fear? Is it a false fear? If it's a real fear, you have to absolutely act. If it's just an anxiety based on getting old or, things like that, then that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That's just creating more of downgrading the cells of my body. I can't be like that. I've got to stand up to fear.
One of the things that I learned when I walked the Camino for the first time, I really learned how to handle fear, and it's proven to work now off the Camino as well. Basically, what happened was this: there's a long stretch on the Camino where there's a long stretch of about 200 kilometers where there's long distances between villages, and there is a shortage of accommodation in these villages. And people are terrified that they're not going to get a bed for the night. So they wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and leave early and rush through the day and claim their bed. And in the process, what they're doing is they're missing out on so much of the beauty of the Camino and so much of those wonderful things that the Camino provides for you, such as stopping and talking to people, and considering the culture and things like this. So I found myself caught up in this, and I found myself looking at everybody who's walking past me as being, that's the person who's going to steal my bed, and then I was hit with a sudden kind of epiphany, and that is, well, hang on a second, Bill. You're walking the Camino, you have this opportunity to experience this extraordinary beauty and culture around you. You're not doing this because you're rushing, you're living in fear every single moment of the day, trying to get there so that you can claim a bed. But supposing you don't, supposing you get there are no beds, what's the worst that can happen? And this notion, what's the worst that can happen? I worked that through. I can sleep under the stars, under a tree somewhere. I can sleep in the porch of a church, or there might be somebody who I meet in the street who might offer me a bed in their private home. When I considered what was the worst that could happen, and then I realized that I could face that, that sort of worst endpoint, the fear disappeared. And then I thought, well, can I take this back home with me? What's the worst that can happen if I go broke? What's the worst that can happen if if my health goes? I ran through all of those things, and I had to dig really deep down sometimes to find out what was the base fear. What was the base fear of, loss of abundance and so forth. And then what I had to do is I had to think, well, okay, if that happened, what would I do? What would I do? And I figured out what I would do. And then I'd look at that and go, that's okay, I can handle that. And the fear went away. Fear limits you. It constricts you. It stops you from being creative. If you can eliminate fear, then it liberates your mind to think creatively. And when you think creatively, you think abundantly.
And solutions.
And solutions come.
And solutions.
Well,
You can't be focused on the problem.
Just back to what I said before, what you focus on expands. If you're focusing on just a bed, as you said, Bill, you're missing out on the whole point of walking the Camino. And that is being part of the whole picture, not just, oh, where am I going to sleep tonight? So doesn't that apply to life? We don't rush through life worrying about what may or may not happen. We focus on where we are and what we want at that time and what we want to create. And that's what you did.
Yeah. I mean, I firmly believe that excessive wealth is a function of fear. You know, billionaires don't need all that money.
But
Um,
it's a big
some,
but.
some are philanthropic, but most aren't.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not.
We know some billionaires,
Mm.
and they're not philanthropic.
Yeah, it's true. And we know some that are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd have to work that equation. Yeah, but in principle, having more than you need is based on fear, for sure.
And you look at these stupid four-wheel drives that people drive around in. That's a function of fear.
Only when you're driving them in the city. If they're out on road.
Yeah.
People don't surround. They do not need to surround themselves with so much metal.
We go back and forth on a lot of things.
Well, that's fine, isn't it? Otherwise, what would be the point of having a relationship if you don't grow and learn from each other and enjoy their life together?
No, we sure do.
Well, that's the main thing. So, looking back on The Way, My Way, it's been a fantastic success. Did you anticipate that would be as successful as it has, or was there always that little bit of thought, yeah, but what if we don't make a profit? What if we, what if? Did that ever occur?
Never did, Barry. We were just solely focused on getting a film made and making it to the best quality that we could.
Mm-hmm.
We never thought much beyond that. Really, it was.
There was a point where we weren't able to finish it. And Bill and I put in all our savings to finish it. And then it was finished, which we were both mightily pleased and very proud of.
Mm.
So we had to really step into a point where a lot of people would have been in enormous fear. But because we're over that now, what's the worst that can happen? We lose everything. That's okay.
Yeah, when we think back on it now, basically what I thought, Barry, was we'd raised enough money to get the film to what's called director's cut, which is a cut of the film that pretty much shows what the film is going to be. There's still more work to be done. And then the whole post-production process then kicks in once you get to final cut.
Mm-hmm.
And that process for a film like ours cost about $500,000 to $600,000. We were short of that kind of money. We went everywhere to try and secure it. We went to government screen bodies. We had distribution in place at the time. We had the film, virtually the finished film that we could show them. We got knocked back everywhere. And so we took a deep breath and we put the money in ourselves.
Wow.
Now, a lot of filmmakers wouldn't do that.
No.
It was a no-brainer for us. We really didn't think twice about it, did we?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, it all worked out, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe we're particular sorts of people. I don't know. I think losing wealth and losing position and losing all of those things means very little to us at all.
Losing status.
We've been in the ups and downs of rejection, both of us, in our separate careers, and that means nothing. It absolutely means nothing. The most important thing is the ability to be able to find that place in the world where you are born into this world for a reason, and to be comfortable with the fact that you're here, and really the world couldn't operate unless you weren't here. If you weren't here, the world would stop. You've just got to be really quite convinced you're here with purpose, and everything, if you're here and acting on purpose and trying to do the right thing, everything will work out. And I think everyone should feel that way, because I think it's true.
But I wonder how many people in the world right now are thinking like that. They have a very shallow attitude. And I know this year, part of astrology, we have two planets, Saturn and Neptune, together. And as I put the message out earlier in an earlier program, this is a year to look within and find out about yourself. Face yourself. Face your fears. And don't let some character out there, because it suits them, whether it's a company, a person, or whatever, don't let them control your life. Now, you two haven't done it. You are a fantastic example.
We can't... The whole idea of us having to reach out beyond ourselves to someone else for guidance, I think, as you say, has left the planet now. We are on our own, and we do have to make our own way as mature, evolved beings. And I think the new generation of children coming through will probably show more of that. I know my granddaughter is extraordinary in her capacity to be herself, and not needy in any way. The world's changing. It's changing rapidly. And the rock is being pulled up and showing very scary things that are going on in the world. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Awful things are happening, but they were always happening. They were just hidden from us, and now we're seeing them very clearly, and that's a good thing. And we're living in the lucky country, as it were. For some reason, karmically, we're here in Australia, and we're not sitting on the edge of the Ukraine or in the Middle East or Africa. We're here in Australia, where we're a very homogenous society, even though some people would like to say we're not. And we're a very wealthy society, even though we have problems like everywhere else. And there are other countries like us as well. We're not the only ones. And I think every day we should wake up and you know, feel gratitude, and because we all know that gratitude is one of the most important things. Get through fear.
The biggest fear that people have, of course, is fear of death. And if you can overcome the fear of death, then you live in freedom. And I've overcome the fear of death, both of myself and those around me. Now, that's not to say that if Jennifer died,
grief,
I would grieve. You know, I would grieve dreadfully.
That's natural.
Yeah. But I'm not scared of her leaving. I'm not scared of myself leaving. You know, and you are the personification of someone who knows that there is more out there, as you say.
Taught us, Barry.
As you have taught us.
You have taught us that.
And
we thank you for that.
You are the living embodiment of that every single day.
Well, thank you very much. And I was guided to write that book because on the other side, they want us to know there is no such thing as death. Only the body dies. We are more than a body. We are an energy that lives forever. So there we are. Why be afraid? Why have fear? False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly right. And but most people are in survival mode. You know, from the moment really they kind of begin to reason, and they're taught to live in survival mode, and they don't have the time, or at least they don't think they have the time to read more widely, to experience other ways of looking at the world. Now, you know, Jennifer and I are fortunate in that we've made films that have allowed us to do that on a global scale, and we've met extraordinary people overseas largely overseas, that have totally shifted the way that we've looked at ourselves and looked at the world. People are, I think to really obviate fear, you have to consider a higher power.
Of course.
I really think you have to consider a higher power, and because if you don't, you are stuck in this Groundhog Day, of this treadmill of day to day trying to survive, living in fear, believing that the only thing that's going to protect you from fear is acquisition of wealth.
Yeah,
It's not going to protect you.
that's true. But as Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. And there we are. So we know on stage there is always the top man, the director up there pulling all the strings. And we know that when you translate that to energy, means a creator, a source of energy, a universal source, call it God, whatever, doesn't matter. But we are only part of what goes on. And once we can accept that and move on, then we can live life a lot better without all that horrible fear.
We don't need to. We need to let fear have its place, which is to help us continue on our path.
Yeah.
It stops us from having something dreadful happen to us. Early warning system toward survival is what it is, and that's really good. But anxiety, stress, worry, no. They're going to take you down faster than anything else. They're the worst things. People have survived Chernobyl, they've survived Hiroshima, they've survived all the chemicals, all the dreadful things, but what takes people down faster is stress.
Yeah,
and that's just fear, and it's false fear. It's not real fear, and that we do not need.
No, that's very true. Now, just to wrap things up, I know you have an appointment very shortly. It would be wrong if I didn't ask you, do you have another project in the wings right now? And if so, you don't have to spill the beans, but is it going well? And are you all happy about it all?
Do we have another project going at the moment?
We do.
Yes, go on.
You can talk about it.
The Way, Her Way. We're doing a sequel to The Way, My Way. Bill is also doing his documentary series. He's struggling with hope at the moment. We're doing a documentary on hope, but at the moment he is struggling with that concept, trying to work out, is it a real concept or a construct that we have created? So there's those two things we are working on, and we're very happy with that. And Bill is always working. He's always doing things. I, on the other hand, quite happy, looking after everything else.
Well,
Very, very happy, Barry. And getting back to what he said before about going overseas to find things, I never did that. Everything is right where you are right now. Everything you need. The people are there. The books are there. The ideas are there. Everything is sitting right where every individual is. The answer is there with them. They don't need to go traveling outside themselves to find it. It will be there for them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for sharing everything. I know The Way, My Way was an absolutely wonderful movie. It was brilliantly received all around the world. So The Way, Her Way, well, I can't wait to see exactly what happens. And Bill, I'll just say, I hope it all works out.
Barry, that's a separate conversation.
I know. I'm just baiting the hook. A little bit.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, Bill, so much. And you've helped people in ways that they will only be able to find out themselves. And that was the purpose of our chat. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Barry.